Hello, we're back. I'm gonna try this again. I liked being outside. It's easy, it's low maintenance. I'm sorry, the books I show you are probably gonna be flipped around, but it is what it is at this point. So, we are going to talk about the books that I read in the month of August because it is finally September and now the rest of the world has permission to decorate their house for fall, even though I decorated mine a few weeks ago. But in terms of what I read in August, I had 2,752 pages read, and I read 6 books. So I felt like it was a good month. I read 4 different series. So there's that. And also for the first time in a really long time, I read a book that wasn't fantasy or romance. So we'll get into all of it, but 2 of the books I don't have because I listened to the audio, and those are The Curse of Ophelia and The Shards of Ophelia by Nicole Platania. Nicole is a really lovely author. I actually had the opportunity to interview her on my channel about a month ago. If you're interested in watching that conversation, you definitely can. I can try to link it here if I still remember how to do those things. It's been such a hot minute. But I really liked starting this series. The Curse of Ophelia obviously is about a young woman named Ophelia. It is a dual POV, and we don't really get that dual POV until later into the book. But the very beginnings of the book, we understand that Ophelia comes from a particular race that was cursed, not cursed anymore, but she has been separated from the man that she loves, who went off to go undertake his trial, basically, and never came back. And she knows in her heart of hearts that he is still alive, and things then start happening. In this world, you have angels, you have, I think, gods on the horizon. There's definitely a lot of meddling. There's found family. There's a lot of good stuff. It's technically fantasy romance, but for me, it's more epic romantic fantasy because it's got that big world, that overarching scope, which I really like. And it just put me in a good reading mood. So I read the first 2 books of that series, and I had a really good time. I then read, I think, my favorite book of the year thus far. Like, honestly, I loved this book. I had a really good reading month, so it's probably going to be backwards, but A Forbidden Alchemy by Stacey McEwen. I also really love the cover, and I love the side edging, the printed edges. I have read 2 other books by Stacey McEwen, and that is Ledge and Chasm, which are the 2 first books of her Glacian trilogy, I think is what the trilogy is called. And I enjoyed them, but oh my word, I devoured this book. I freaking loved it. It has Shadow and Bone vibes meeting Peaky Blinders, and it just checked the boxes for me. It takes place in a world where it is composed of 2 types of people. They're called artisans and craftsmen. If you are going to be an artisan, aka part of the elite, and possess magic, or you are going to be a craftsman, aka you are a laborer and a worker, it is decided when you're around 12 years old, and you go to the capital, you undertake in this ritual, basically, where you drink this vial, and it tells you if you exhibit magic that you're going to be an artisan, and if you don't, you're going to be a craftsman. Nina, our main POV, who is in first person, and Patrick, who is in third person, which I thought was so interesting, meet at this test and discover that the whole thing is a ruse, okay? And of course, Nina and Patrick both come from really terrible upbringings. They're both from minor communities, but Patrick comes from a really loving family. Nina's dad is an abusive alcoholic, so Nina knows that no matter what, she is not leaving. She's gonna find a way to become an artisan, and lo and behold, she does. Patrick, on the other hand, has zero interest in becoming an artisan and helping the Capitol continue their propaganda and their agenda. So he goes back home. The book then flashes forward about 10, 12 years, and we learn that there is an uprising from craftsmen because someone left the ceremony, went home, and told everybody that it was a ruse. So there's this rebellion that's happening. It's super interesting. The magic I really enjoyed. I think that she's kind of just skimmed the surface with it, but she's an earth charmer, so she can manipulate the earth. We have people that can manipulate different types of substances, water, copper, that type of thing. And there are alchemists who are important to the story, but that's all I'm gonna say. So honestly, freaking ate this up. I loved it. I enjoyed the banter. I loved the characters, the vibe, the setting, the trench warfare element of this book. Super, super good. I am devastated that the rest of the series is not available because this is a book and series I 1000% would have binged, like without question. So yeah, super, super good. And it felt like I was never gonna get over my book hangover. But then I started reading my next series. So as we've discussed now 2 series. We have the Curse of Ophelia series and we've had the Forbidden Alchemy series, which I don't know what the name of that series is, but that's book 1. So we then have the Ashen series, which is by Demi Winters. She's a fellow Canadian author. Book 1 is The Road of Bones, and I loved this book. Okay, I want to take a minute here because I know romantasy gets a really bad rap a lot of the time. And you know what? If you don't like it, fine. That's totally fine. But romantasy as a genre is changing and developing, that we are getting more books and authors that are blending epic fantasy with romance. And that is epic romantic fantasy. So even though it's, definitionally, if we're going, is that even a word? By definition, it is its own genre, epic romantic fantasy. It still gets marketed as romantasy because that's how we want to reach readers. It's the same thing for my series. It's definitely epic scope, epic world, and there's romance in the plot. Road of Bones. This is the same type of deal. And I just devoured these books. And I then read book 2, which is Kingdom of Claw. And as you can see, these are not small books, okay? They're not small books. And book 1 takes place where our main girl, Scylla, has kind of been on the run with her father for most of her life. And she learns really quickly after her daddy is killed that he wasn't really her dad. And she gets thrust into this world of chaos that she does not understand, okay? It is Norse inspired, which I love. It's definitely got Shadow and Bone vibes as well. Meets The Witcher with also Way of Kings elements that are showing up in these books. So it is really like check, 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 check for all the things that I enjoy in a story. I loved the side characters. I really enjoyed the banter. The found family was excellent. And when I got to the end of book 1, I was sitting there thinking, okay, this is a great book 1. It's slow, okay? It's slow. The first 50% definitely takes its time. You get immersed into the world. And I will admit, I wasn't super connected to the characters by that point. But because I'm an epic fantasy reader, I was like, you know what? We're gonna get there. And Demi delivered so well, because by the end of the book, I was like, I need book 2 now. And when I started book 2, I was like, I don't know if I'll like a POV more than I enjoyed Scylla's. And I was so wrong, because there is a POV that is introduced in book 2 that I absolutely devoured, inhaled, could not get enough of. The world expands, the story expands, everything gets richer, deeper. It's everything you want in a book 2, in a sequel. And it has the makings of a really, really good epic series. It's going to be 5 books. The first 2 books are out now, the first 2 full-length books. There's also a novella that's out, which I haven't read yet. It's book 2.5, but that's coming. But now I'm wanting to savor it a little bit because book 3 is not coming out until February. But I just loved everything about these books. Honestly, it was such a good, I don't even want to say palate cleanser. It just felt different, unique, fresh. It was something that I really enjoyed, and I feel like it makes me happy to see that within epic romantic fantasy, fantasy romance, whatever you want to label these books, that we are getting rich, detailed stories that feel like it is safe to take the time to tell them and not rushing through everything. Like, that made me just so thrilled. So Demi Winters, definitely one of my new favorite authors. Absolutely loved it. So that is now the 3rd series that we read. Now the 4th one, and the final one, is the Thursday Murder Club series by Richard Osman. So I have owned this book now for several years. And the reason is because when my husband and I went to England for our honeymoon years and years ago, we had been out hiking the whole day. And when we got back to our hotel that night, we were so zonked. We were like, we're just going to put on TV and zone out. And we ended up discovering British game show television, which is amazing. Like, I know Japanese game shows get a lot of credit. I love British game shows. So there is one called Pointless that was co-hosted by Richard Osman. We then started watching this religiously. We then started watching his 2nd show that he started making, which was House of Games. So then when he wrote a book, Josh bought me the book, and it sat on my shelf for a very long time. Now, what kicked me in the ass to actually get going and finally read this book was that the Netflix movie came out this past week. So I finally got to reading the book. So this is the first book in a really long time that I have read that isn't a romance of any kind and isn't a fantasy of any kind. It is a murder mystery, except I would say that it is a cozy murder mystery. I am not traditionally a murder mystery reader. I'm not a thriller reader or a murder reader in general, unless it's part of fantasy. But this was a break from the norm. So one other thing I want to say before I continue back on this one is that the Ashen series is 3rd-person POV, which I really ended up enjoying because it was multi-POV. This book, also 3rd-person POV. And the thing that surprised me about this book, I want to say, is how many POVs there were. I was really surprised by that. And it ended up being that I found the story jumped around a lot, but I enjoyed it. I was guessing until the end who did it, basically. And I really enjoyed it. I found the ending to be a little bit too easy. So that was my one thing, but I still had a really fun time with it and will probably read the next one. I buddy read it with my best friend, so I've told her when she wants to read the 2nd one, we can probably do that as well. But yeah, those were my books for August. I am in a spot right now where I am deciding what my next audiobook is going to be. I still haven't physically started reading The Night and the Moth or Assassin's Apprentice, but they're lingering in the periphery of my mind. So I might just do the audio for one of them. I don't know. I've been warned that the audio for a lot of Robin Hobb isn't everyone's favorite, so we'll see. I don't know. But yeah, that's what I read. If you have read any of these books, let me know what you thought down below. Also, I'm going to be having a Love Bomb chat tomorrow with Caleb Clark, who is one of my friends. He's in my author group, or my writers group, but his debut novel is coming out, or his debut novella, his debut book is coming out in a couple of days. But as always, thank you for spending your time with me. Let me know what your favorite reads of the month were. I hope you have a wonderful September coming up, and I look forward to hopefully a month of good reads. See you next time. Bye.